We have 3 major new horror movies coming out in theaters this week. Whistle, which I've already seen and reviewed. Yikes. Then there's The Strangers Chapter 3, which I have not seen yet, but I'm going to go ahead and make an educated guess and say that Dracula is the one that's most worth your time this week. This particular version is written and directed by Luc Besson, who's done things like Leon the Professional, The Fifth Element. I wonder what made him want to do a version of Dracula. Maybe he wanted to tell a story about an older man going after a younger girl. If you don't know his history in that department, look that shit up. It's not good. But his version of Dracula, pretty good. This is actually a very simple review to do. If you feel like, I've seen Dracula, I've seen it done many a time, I get it, I'm very familiar, don't really feel like I need to see it again, this is pretty much Dracula again. So maybe you wouldn't really be into it. If you're a huge fan of the story and you want to see more people's takes on it, you never get sick of it, I think this is a solid take on the story. Now, there are some changes, but generally, it's the same tale. Caleb Landry Jones plays Dracula. I think he's kind of an underrated actor. I've always really liked him, and it's cool to see him get to stretch his acting muscles in a lead role playing something like Dracula. I think he's really good here. I liked his performance a lot, and the makeup, making him look like this old, decrepit lizard man, really good. I really liked the production design, the costumes here. I really liked the style, the gothic tone. It's definitely seems to be going for something along the lines of Francis Ford Coppola's film from 1992. Now, that can be a little dangerous when you invite comparisons to that film, because even though I'm not like a massive fan of it personally or anything, it's unbelievably gorgeous. That shot with Dracula's eyes in the sky is like one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So you're probably not gonna match that. But overall, I did really like the look of this, and the music by Danny Elfman is really good as well. And then you also have Christoph Waltz as not Van Helsing. There's no Van Helsing in here. I don't know why. He's just a priest, and he's going after Dracula. Oh, okay. I mean, they don't say that his name isn't Van Helsing, so maybe, but they never use those words. But while this release that I saw is just called Dracula, in other territories it is apparently called Dracula: A Love Tale, and the fact that it's coming out in February, that all makes a lot of sense. This is more focused on the romantic angle of the story. Obviously, it is horror at its core. It's about a blood-sucking creature of the night. He's killing dudes, but it's not trying to be scary. It's not really focused on the horror elements. I saw this at a mystery movie, and I was pretty sure it was going to be Dracula, but if anybody else wasn't sure and they were going in expecting something horrifying, they might have been disappointed, because that's just not where this movie's priorities lie. This puts a lot more focus on the character of Dracula himself. We don't even meet Mina until like pretty far into the movie, like just a little bit before Dracula actually meets her. We see a lot of him. We see a good amount of flashbacks with him where he's like trying to get used to his newfound immortality, where he's going out sailing across the world looking for his reincarnated love. We spend a good amount of time with him, and so it's not that I'm rooting for the man. He's still Count fucking Dracula. He's still draining people's blood. He's not a great guy. But we're in his shoes so much, and Caleb Landry Jones was giving such a good performance that I was actually feeling a lot more empathetic toward Dracula than I typically would. I kind of felt for the guy. Caleb Landry Jones just really sells his desire to be with this woman again, that she is the only person, the only thing in this world that could bring him happiness, when he's just in his mansion and he's all old and wrinkled and shriveling, and he just feels worthless. He feels like he has nothing. You can tell how bored and uninterested of everything he is, and just focusing on him so much and focusing on that romantic side was a little bit of a different take on the story that I appreciated. Another solid change is this version of Jonathan Harker. He's not like super interesting or anything, but there are just other versions of the character, including in the book, where he'll just see something overtly supernatural and terrifying, and he'll just be like, huh, that's slightly peculiar. Anyway, And this one isn't really like that. He doesn't make those same kinds of stupid mistakes. I do think the tone is a little off at times. I was really worried by the opening scene. The very first scene is Dracula when he was a human and his beloved, and they're just having a bunch of sex, and then they're just having like a pillow fight and smearing food on each other's faces and doing like weird shit just to quickly communicate like, oh look, they're in love. And it was so cheesy. It was so weird. I'm like, is this what people did in the 15th century? You just put food on each other's faces because you didn't have YouTube videos to watch while you were eating dinner? It was very cheesy, and there are a couple scenes like that throughout the movie that are a little unintentionally funny. And the worst offender of it all is that there are these CG creatures who serve under Dracula, and they look so fake. They do not fit at all with this serious gothic style that you've got going here. Every time we saw them, it took me out of it completely. They do not mesh at all. They are just these cartoon characters in the middle of this, and later on they're involved in like a giant fight scene. And I was like, I hate this entire thing. Like, I want to appreciate some of the choreography, some of the bloodshed going on here, but it's all involving these little cartoon minions, and they look so bad. So it has some issues as an adaptation. It also has its strengths, but primarily it's Dracula again. You kind of know whether or not you're interested in seeing that. I think it's a pretty well done version of the story. It's well made. We have a great lead performance. And if you want to see that slightly different spin on it, where it does focus a little bit more on the romance, as long as you know you're not going in expecting full-on terrifying horror, I think that warrants its existence. I'm not a massive fan of the Dracula story in pretty much any context. I respect it for being the originator of so much of what we know and love about vampires. It's just there's been so many vampire things that have come out since it that give me more of what I'm looking for from those types of stories. But even for me, as somebody who's like, oh yeah, it's Dracula again, I still do feel that way. But also, I had a good time. I liked the differences. I was getting a little bored in like the last third, because those were the parts that were going through the motions a little bit, like, yep, I know this story, let's get on with it. But there was enough new here and well done that I liked it. It's like somebody making another version of A Christmas Carol, which there's several of those coming out. Robert Eggers is supposed to be doing one, right? Who also did Nosferatu, which is also the story of Dracula. I'm curious to see that, but also that's a very similar reaction for me, where I'm like, yeah, Ebenezer Scrooge, I know, I get it, I'm familiar. What else you got? 6 out of 10, I had a good time, better than I thought actually. I wasn't sure what this was going to have to offer, and I kind of liked the more emotional experience that I had compared to some other versions of this story where I actually got invested in the romantic angle and cared a bit for Dracula. And maybe I'm weird. Maybe nobody else is going to feel that way. If you watched the movie and you think I'm like a psychopath, that's fine. But if you also felt for the character and you liked this different angle, let me know down in the comments. Or if you couldn't get into it, if you liked the CGI gargoyles, you didn't like those though, did you? Whatever you think, leave it down in the comments and we can talk about it down there. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe. If you want to see more from me, I appreciate it. Hope to see you next time.